Hello, and welcome back to another edition of Tech in 10, the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs post-game show from the Ruston Daily Leader. I am sports reporter Matt Belinson coming to you live from Joe I.E. Stadium after Louisiana Tech's 35-28 loss to the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. Another heartbreaking loss for Louisiana Tech, but one that has a little bit of deja vu in it that I think is going to pretty much define this entire post-game episode. Louisiana Tech drops to 3-4 overall and 2-1 in Conference USA on a nationally televised game on ESPN. It was a pre-game. It was a pretty big environment for Louisiana Tech and an opportunity. And more of the same issues persisted, and Louisiana Tech loses its first conference game. Before we get any deeper, I just want to thank our sponsor, the Northern Louisiana Medical Center, for sponsoring this video and Tech in 10 going forward this season. Got a few games left. It's kind of crazy. We're halfway, even past the halfway point at this point with Louisiana Tech season. So got a few more of these left. The biggest takeaway for me tonight is that felt familiar. Louisiana Tech, for whatever reason, and Sonny Cumbie, you could feel his frustration post game. For whatever reason, Louisiana Tech cannot and won't start fast in football games, and not even start fast, start competent. For whatever reason, there is an issue with this team right now. They come out in the first quarter and the first half, and they have found themselves down in big holes and have rarely come back from them. Here's a stat for you. This is also pre-Sonny Cumbie as well, but also includes a majority of Sonny Cumbie's tenure. In Louisiana Tech's last 28 FBS games, so that throws out Stephen F. Austin, that throws out Northwestern State, and I think Southern, or someone else in 2021. Your last 20 FBS games, Louisiana Tech has trailed out of 19 times going into halftime. 19 times out of 28 that you've trailed at half. And tonight was, I think a pretty just, stark realization that this is a huge problem for this team. You were trailing 35-7 at halftime. You weren't tackling. You weren't catching the ball. Offense was stalling. After a Cedric Woods interception set up a Tyree Shelton touchdown, to you're like, okay, this is our game. Like, we're going to command this one. Nope. Offense, just lays an egg in the first half, and then defense rolls over again. Can't tackle, Malachi Corley on these wide receiver screens and on, a lot of routes that felt like we're modest gains, but that's all they're going to be. Nope. Corley had over 111 yards. After the catch, by the end of the first half, he just dominated, and the Western Kentucky looked like it was having its way. And it looked to be a blowout of epic proportions for Louisiana Tech. And then the Bulldogs scored 21 unanswered points in the second half and make it a game there in the final 2 minutes before Jack Turner throws an interception, on the sideline, who I thought he actually played a pretty solid game. And Sonny Cumbie even mentioned it post-game. The guys around him have to help him. But the biggest takeaway for me is Louisiana Tech has to figure out a way to get past this mental block. Smoke Harris even said as much. He felt like this team has been playing, tight and all that sort of stuff for the past couple of games, and it just feels that way. It feels like Louisiana Tech, whenever there's been an opportunity to seize momentum, there's been an opportunity to stay in games, they just roll over, and the issues aren't solved until it's too late. Again, valiant effort tonight to come back from 35-7, but again, it still reads as a loss on the scoreboard. So I think if for Louisiana Tech, you got to flush this quickly. Again, your next game is Tuesday, at Middle Tennessee, which seems like a pretty winnable game on paper. Middle Tennessee just gave up a huge, second half, comeback themselves to Jacksonville State a couple days ago. So, they're certainly susceptible to second half, comebacks, and Louisiana Tech might be able to take advantage. But I mean, dang, it's just amazing what this team could be if it could just put together two halves. I mean, you think back to that SMU game, you trail 31-0 at halftime, and then you outscore them 14-0, in the second half. Just imagine if you're, competitive in the first half, and you're still in the ball game at that time. Who knows what that game ends up being? North Texas a few weeks ago here at the Joe. I mean, you trail big at the half again, and you're still. And again, valiant effort. Fourth quarter comeback attempt falls short, but again, this team. There's a scenario where this team is 5-2 tonight. They're 3-0 in Conference USA. Like that's not an unrealistic scenario for this team. But again, when you come out against a Western Kentucky team, who again by all means they're the conference favorite, and they certainly played like it in the first half with that offense and Austin Reed. But I mean, they frankly gifted you this game. I mean, their offense punted 4 of their last 5 drives in the second half. And, meanwhile, your offense was kind of, firing on all cylinders, starting to get the run game going a little bit more. Jack Turner was kind of finding his groove with Smoke Harris. And again, this first half mental blockage is just costing this team opportunities. Now, again, the season is not over. You're 2-1 in conference play. You're still very much in contention for, to get to the league championship game. Again, like I mentioned, Middle Tennessee, I believe, I think is 1-3, if not 1-2 in conference play so far. So there are certainly opportunities for the Bulldogs to get right back in this thing. But again, that's not going to happen if this team does not come out strong in the first half. Again, I can't underestimate how big of a deal this has been. They've been outscored 66-28 in the first quarter this year. That just can't happen. I mean, that's just losing football. Smoke Harris even said at postgame that he felt that there was times tonight where guys were just playing tense. They felt like they needed to come back 20 points in one drive. I mean, you saw 6 drops tonight. Just very uncharacteristic stuff. I mean, penalties. I think Louisiana Tech, I'll have to look at the numbers after this game, but I'm pretty sure after tonight, Louisiana Tech is the most penalized team in the country. Like, those are mistakes that you cannot have, frankly, in a game in general, but especially in the first half. And especially when you're playing at a deficit already with injuries, on offense, when you're down to some of your top playmakers. I mean, you cannot afford to keep doing this to yourself. And Sonny Cumbie even said at postgame, again, you could feel his frustration. He said that it's time for this team's mindset to just switch. It's time for the Bulldogs to come out and play a first half saying, you know what, we're just going to execute from start to finish. There's no reason why we can't play like we played in that second half against Western Kentucky. You tackle Malachi Corley a couple times, that game is different. That's all it really takes. Offense doesn't turn, sour there for a couple of drives. I mean, you're in that game. So I know the final score, again, it reads as a loss, and it is a loss, and Louisiana Tech is going to have to respond against Middle Tennessee all the same. But, I think if you're a Bulldog fan, it just has to be frustrating because Louisiana Tech has shown an ability to come back in these games and an ability to show fight. So it's not like Louisiana Tech rolled over. Okay, 35-7. We got a quick game coming up Tuesday. Let's just flush this and we won't even worry about it. I mean, they almost won this game tonight, which I think is the more frustrating part if you're Bulldog fan and a coach right now. So again, I think it all comes back to they have to start fast in the first half. I know again it seems so simple, but this team has just not been able to do it. So I think that's the biggest takeaway from tonight. I think some other points, that I think are worth noting. Again, your run defense, just really spotty tonight. I'm not really, Western Kentucky finishes with 129 on the ground, which, is certainly better than what Louisiana Tech has had. But those first couple of drives that Western was rolling, Louisiana Tech is just leaving. Linebackers are just not filling gaps. And Louisiana Tech is just giving up these monster, runs of, 25 plus yards. It just can't continue to happen. Again, especially if you're going to be having these deficits, you can't have teams, just burning clock on you and just running up the gut on you, not giving you opportunities to come back in these games. Excuse me. I mean, it's just unbelievable the amount of times that Louisiana Tech's run defense has continued to not fill assignments. And again, missed tackles tonight on simple wide receivers. I mean, Malachi Corley, I believe it was his second touchdown of the night. I mean, it was a simple crossing route on third down that is just uncovered. He takes it upfield for 47 yards. I mean, I just don't know how that happens against their number one target on the field. So, again, this defense has a whole lot of issues still to clean up. But again, the second half, you force them to punt 4 of the last 5 drives. Again, it's in there. They just have to figure out a way to unlock it for a full game. Because I think Louisiana Tech is a pretty decent team. Again, I think Western Kentucky and Liberty are still the class of this conference. I mean, obviously Western Kentucky won this game tonight, so as of right now they're the class of the league along with Liberty. But I think you can string together some wins against Middle Tennessee, against New Mexico State, and then you go into that Liberty game in a few weeks here, with an opportunity to maybe steal one. Again, it just all comes back to playing a full, complete game. And again, I know it sounds simple to someone watching this, like, okay, fine, Louisiana Tech just comes out, puts together a pretty simple game script, out of the gate. Again, if it was that simple, I think Louisiana Tech would have done it already. So I think the Bulldogs are certainly not out of this race yet, but tonight was just such a big opportunity wasted again. I felt the same after that North Texas game. You go into Lincoln, Nebraska with a chance to be 3-1. Now, again, you probably were going to lose that Nebraska game either way, but again, going into 3-1 into Lincoln, a team that seemed beatable. It just feels different, and who knows? You play a little bit different with that swagger behind you, and then again you come back home, you play North Texas after again a pretty disappointing loss, and you can't finish the job. It's just frustrating to see a team that I think has potential not play like it for a full game. So, and it sounds like Smoke Harris and Sonny Cumbie and Roderick Roberson, and talking to them post game, shared those similar frustrations. So, again, I think if you're a Bulldog fan, you have a right to be upset. Certainly, this team has to show an ability to play a full game and actually show that it can be a Conference USA contender because, on paper, they have some really nice players. I think Smoke Harris is, if not the best receiver in the conference. Malachi Corley certainly showed that he, probably has that title, right now. But I mean, Smoke is right up there. I mean, just his ability to shift in space. They have to force feed him the ball every single time. I think getting up to 12 targets. I mean, that has to be a minimum. Frankly, he's this team's best offensive weapon, maybe outside of Tyree Shelton. Going forward, it just has to start quicker. That's the bottom line. And I think if they do that, I think Louisiana Tech can be a better team and I think can continue to stay in the Conference USA race. Until then, I think you're going to get similar results like you do tonight, where you're going to feel like you're oh so close, but it's still going to read as a loss all the same. So, again, similar story here at Joe Ice Stadium tonight. Bulldogs fall 45-38 to Western Kentucky. Again, with this Conference USA schedule, they're going to have to switch things up pretty quickly, go on the road to Murfreesboro on Tuesday, and try and beat Middle Tennessee to get to 3-1 in conference play. But for now, I'm Matt Belinson from the Ruston Daily Leader saying thank you all for listening. Have a good one.